Hello there my friends, and welcome back to another video. In this video we're taking yet another look at the Fluval Flex 123 Marine after around 3 months of having it running. We'll have a little look at what I've done to the tank, what I've added in terms of livestock, but also we'll have a discussion as well on some problems and issues that I have come across having run this tank for 3 months now. If you've watched the first few videos on this tank that I've done, you'll know that I've added a few mollies initially to get the tank cycling and going. Well, I removed those fish yesterday because I went to the fish shop and I bought some what I would consider proper marine fish. You can see I've added a royal grammer and I've added a firefish. Now thankfully these two fish are actually coming out and about. Normally when you add a firefish and also when you add a royal grammer, what they do is they hide in the rockwork and you never see them again, or you see glimpses of them when you add food to the tank. However, these two are quite happy, they're quite settled. I think they've been in the fish shop for quite a while due to the lockdown, so they're probably quite happy to get out, stretch their fins in a new environment. The idea for this tank is to actually add lots of brightly coloured, small but peaceful fish. I don't want any aggression in this aquarium whatsoever. Now I know royal grammars can get a little bit of an attitude later on in their lives, but hopefully this guy will be quite calm and peaceful, and everybody knows that firefish, as well as being incredibly beautiful, are one of the most peaceful fish you can get for a marine tank. So the reason I don't want to add any aggressive fish is because as soon as I do, these fish will probably just hide and I'll never see them again. So I'm probably going to be adding some scooter blennies, maybe a blenny and a goby, something like that. In terms of invertebrates, I've got some turbo snails, I've got some dove snails, and I've also added a little conch just to keep the sand turning over. There is one hermit crab in there as well, but I never see him. So moving on from the fish, obviously if you know me and you know my channel, you will know that I love macroalgae, and to those who don't know what macroalgae is, it is basically seaweed, but it's lovely looking seaweed, it's ornamental seaweed. So everything in here at the moment is seaweed. Now I've added quite a few bits about a month ago, but I've also added a few new pieces as well. They're all starting to grow really well. I just love the colours that they give you, different textures and shapes. So I'll go through them very briefly. At the top here we've got blue octodes, we've got a little bit of chondrus in the middle there, brown stuff. Soliaria, it's a new piece I bought yesterday. Caulerpa prolifera is the sort of bladey, seagrassy looking stuff. The green fingery things at the back is codium. In the middle there we've got an ultra rare macroalgae. I mean, this is the first bit I've ever had. I've never seen it anywhere else in the UK. I'd be surprised if there are many pieces of this in the UK. And this is red sea lettuce. It's a type of Halemenia. It doesn't attach to rockwork. It's free floating as far as I'm aware. And it's just chilling there at the back. It looks beautiful and it's growing because it's got new tips on it. So very pleased I've got that. I've got a bit more Soliaria growing out. At the back there, that big lump is Botrocladia. And then we've got two types of Gracilaria. We've got Gracilaria hayi just behind that rock, and another Gracilaria which I don't actually know the species of. And then we've got a green Gracilaria here, which I've got in most of my tanks. It's really lovely green textured macroalgae, and it forms into a ball normally, so it's like a underwater moss ball. There's also a little bit of pest algae growing here. We can see on the rockwork I've got some hair algae, and I've also got some of that invasive, I can't remember the name of it now. It's an invasive sort of green hair algae. But what I'm hoping is once all the macroalgae that I want in here start growing and thriving a bit more, all of this pest algae will sort of disappear once it's out compete. A lot like a freshwater tank. And you'll notice that it's growing in the centre top of this aquarium, and that's a nice segue into the next part of the video, which is kind of the issues and possible problems I found with this aquarium. And there aren't many. I mean, in general I would definitely rate this a 9 out of 10 in terms of aquarium for your money, especially for saltwater. It's an excellent saltwater aquarium. Everything in here is doing really well. You can see for yourself, it's just running really nicely. There's no problems. So yeah, definitely a good aquarium, but there are a few niggling problems which I found. The first one is kind of the light spread within the aquarium. Obviously that's a big bright LED up there. I don't think the light spread is quite enough for this tank. It's good, I mean it does reach the front and back of the aquarium, but you can see in the corners here that there are parts of the glass where this green algae isn't growing. and that is obviously the limitation of where the light spread is. So that means if you put anything in these corners or at the back corners, they're going to struggle for light. So that's just something to consider when you're thinking about putting corals in here. Anything in the corners or the far edges, they're going to need to be really low light corals, soft corals probably. You won't be able to put any SPS or LPS corals in the corners of these tanks. The second issue is to do with the curved glass itself. Now, it's probably an issue that everybody who's ever bought a Flex, whether it's one of the smallest ones or whether it's the largest ones, saltwater or freshwater, has probably encountered already, and that is the fact that at the bottom of the glass, along the bottom half, because of the fact that the tank is curved top to bottom, it traps sediment. Now, I've cleaned this tank about half an hour ago before making this video, and there's already a sediment build up on the bottom half of the glass, and it means it just never stays perfectly clear. It's never perfectly clean, because the minute you clean it, the dirt and grime and whatever's in the water starts to settle down onto that glass, and it's really quite frustrating and quite annoying. I'm going to solve it hopefully by putting a power head on one of the outside edges and get the flow blowing across the front of the glass, and hopefully that will stop things from settling on that area. So that will obviously bring you into flow. Flow's okay in this tank. It's suitable. It's fine for these macroalgae, but I would imagine if you've got LPS or SPS corals in here, even soft corals, you're going to want more power heads. You probably want 2 power heads, one small one on each end, and that will give you enough flow. Filtration wise, I found it to be perfectly adequate. I haven't even cleaned the filter yet. 3 months in, I haven't touched the filter. It's working really well. So overall, just generally good. Little niggles here, and most of it's to do with adding power heads, I suppose. The last problem isn't to do with the tank, it's to do with the ancillary bits, and that is the Fluval skimmer. I'm not really impressed with it. I turned it on. I was told by a few people that it's not very good, and it probably works, but the issue is the minute you turn it on, you get millions of microbubbles in your tank, and this is not good for a marine system because microbubbles can get into the fish. They can cause embolisms in their eyeballs and things like that. No good. But also, who wants just bubbles blowing around everywhere? And, you know, this isn't a goldfish tank. This is a marine tank, and we don't want microbubbles. So I've turned it off. It hasn't been running for 2 months, and the tank's working fine without it. I've been doing water changes and bits and pieces, and the bioload in this tank is not very much. So overall, I wouldn't bother with the Fluval skimmer. That's the PS1 skimmer, I think, so it is what it is. But other than that, the tank is incredible. Really happy with it. Obviously, I'm going to be adding more fish when they come available, more corals when they come available, and I'll be doing more videos as and when I feel the need. So, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please remember to subscribe to my channel, and also like the video below because it really helps me get discovered on YouTube. So, thanks very much for watching, and happy fish keeping!